We are here at the fabulous Blueprint Studios in Salford, and I have the magnificent Pete Marshall with me. Pete, how you doing?
I'm very well.
It's good to see you again, mate.
Good to see you again too.
And you're surrounded by these beautiful drums.
Yes. Yeah, in this wonderful place. This is like a second home to me.
Well, tell us about this beautiful venue, because it really is incredible.
This is Blueprint Studios, and I'm very lucky that it's about 4 miles from the house.
Even better.
Yeah, 3 miles even. And to have a facility like this so close is just a wonderful luxury. I'm in the big room here where we've recorded a couple of albums, and Elbow have recorded at least 3 or 4 albums, and countless other bands.
Sure.
It's got a great sound, and it's just got a nice vibe about it. We love it. There's a studio below us and some smaller independent rooms below that. I probably started rehearsing here in about 2004, so I've nearly been coming here for 20 years.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so I've got a long history with this place, and I love it that, you know, it's run by people I regard as friends. It's a small little community. It's really great. We love it. We feel very at home. It's like a home from home.
I mean, I've gigged in venues a lot smaller than this. Put it that way. This room alone, forget the rest of the, the rabbit warren of rooms and things. So
it's a luxury. We've all done our time in really cold mills in very small rooms, sort of wanting to go home, sort of wanting to play drums.
So obviously we're here with you today,
yes.
And now we've just witnessed your drums being loaded in from the previous tour you did, which was November, December.
That's right. Yeah.
And first of all, they sound in great shape without putting a drum key on it to tune them.
They're amazing. We just witnessed that. We just got them out of the box and they started first time, which is fantastic. They always do. Yeah, they're really stable drums. I'm really, really happy. Yeah. One thing I wondered about is having longer lugs on the lounge. I like the lounge kit. This is my second lounge kit.
Yeah.
But whether you get more tuning issues, if you've got a shorter lug, there's less distance. Always feels like we'll stay in tune more. This kit sort of defies any of that ideals. You know, it stays in tune all the time. It's very stable. It's very consistent. That's kind of the biggest thing between. I've still got a vintage kit that I've had since I was a kid. The biggest difference is the consistency. Whereas that kit has good days and bad days, and some days you can't get it sounding great just because it's old and rickety.
Well, it's simple as that, isn't it? You know, it's paid its dues.
Yeah, it's old. The drums are out around, and it does sound great. But this thing sounds great all the time. It's very, very consistent, as well as looking great.
It does look great, and you know, I play the Lounge series as well, and one of the reasons that I was attracted to it is the one-piece look. I really, and lots of people go down the Legend route with the split lugs, but I think that is a real classic look.
Yeah, I love it.
Which is a big part of it, isn't it? You want it to look nice as well.
Yeah, it's the same way. It's like guitarists have loads of guitars.
Yeah.
You know, part of it's for sounds, but they want them in a colour they want to play, don't they? And you do want to play things that you feel good about playing, that you're excited to play, because it makes you excited when you play. I've had, a couple of times, not so much recently, but we've gone to a place and hired a kit, maybe if we've travelled abroad and done one gig, and it'll be awful. And the colour's one thing, it might just be an awful kit, and you don't feel very good about yourself. And I know that a bad workman will blame his or her tools, but actually, if you're playing a kit you don't feel good about, you don't play like it definitely hinders you playing because you're not enjoying it. I love playing this thing. I feel very comfortable. I like having her on stage with me. Her? I don't know if it is a girl. I don't have a name for it. I don't have a gender. it just sounds like really impersonal. But anyway,
either way, it sounds beautiful.
It sounds great.
And tell us about this finish. I'm going to put you on the spot now. Do you know what the finish is called?
Carnaby Slate or Knight.
I think it's Knight, isn't it? The new one.
Carnaby Knight. There you go. I wasn't bad.
We're getting the nod of approval.
This kit's in Carnaby Knight.
Yes,
and I like it.
And it's lovely. And I like the little details on the hoops as well. The little mirror, shiny.
Yeah, that's really cool on the bass drum.
Nice, isn't it?
The inlays. It looks well. We've just done that. It was dropped off here the day before we were loading our van to go on tour.
Wow.
Or maybe the week before. I think I got like one rehearsal on it before we went. And as soon as it's on the stage, we played some huge places. It just looks amazing. It just looks really great. It catches the light. yeah, I mean, it's a stunning kit, and it got loads of compliments, which is nice. People were like, "What's that?" It's really nice. I was fortunate, actually, just before the tour. I was down at the workshop picking something up that I'd ordered, and I saw it, and I was like, "That's awesome." So that's how I came to have it, because I was just like, I want that.
But the previous kit you had, you said, obviously there's nothing wrong with it, but it's done its work, hasn't it?
It's still going in the home studio.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's far from retired. Putting plenty more miles on it. I just thought it was just nice to have something fresh and something from the new line. This finish was new out in November, I think. Yeah. Is that correct? How's that for a bit of knowledge there?
There we go.
So it's just nice to be playing something that's really bang up to date and sounds great.
And let's be honest, this isn't customized in any way for you, is it? This is something, anyone watching, this could go out and buy it off the shelf.
Yeah, there is no custom Pete sound. This is it. I'm shop bought. You can buy me anywhere. But I mean, I liked it. I thought that's it. And obviously, I mean, Keith and the guys down at the workshop are incredibly talented and do all kinds of amazing things. But there's nothing that I really want. I play pop songs with a heritage artist that need to sound like pop songs, and the drums need to sound like great drums. I've not got a particular need for a special sound or a special drum, So I think that's me.
I can guarantee how good they sound, because I've heard them in the flesh back in I think it was November, late November. Yeah, and they sounded beautiful, really did.
They do. It helps that our front of house is a drummer. He's really particular, but also we talk to each other about heads and sounds and tunings and the kit, and I always make sure he's a brilliant drummer. He'll shoot you for saying that, because he doesn't play anymore, but he's great. I love him. We're really good friends, and we have a really good relationship. And I would always consult him about the stuff that I'm playing, and if he doesn't like something, we sort it out. You know what I mean? And it's great because he's got the knowledge of being a drummer as well.
Yeah, that always helps, doesn't it? And I think if you don't listen to somebody who's sat in the best seat in the house, at the front of the house, I always find it smacks of a bit of arrogance if you're not going to take the front of house sound engineer's advice on something.
You've got to. I remember the first time I went and bought a pro kit. I had some things that came out of people's sheds. When I actually went and bought a kit in the shop, I took my mate and I didn't even play it. I set up 4 different kits, and I just walked around the shop until I liked the sound of something. Because for me, it was all about, as long as the hardware is good. And the drums don't fall over, don't need to hit them. I need to hear them. Yeah. And the sound you get here might be great, and the sound out there might be awful. And obviously, you want to enjoy the sound that you're making as well, but it needs to sound great out there. So I just take another drummer and make sure what they're doing sounds good. Yeah. And that's it. So having a drummer out, sometimes he'll play it and I'll go out front. Our bass player can dive on, our guitarist, we can all have a bit of a go. Our tech will go, and I'll just go out and have a bit of a listen.
So you like to do that and go and see how they sound? And
I'm interested.
If you need to tweak something, you're going to hear it. And
but
by the time they're through that PA, they're just going to sound
I trust you. If there is the littlest rattle, fuzz, detuning issue or something that sounds whack, he's giving me grief straight away. Yeah. So I just trust. There's a trust in when you work with someone a long time. Yeah. I kind of don't need to, but I will go out and have a listen. Especially when I got the new kit, I was like, dive on them, and I was straight out the front. I was excited to hear them.
Yeah, but they sound great. And so let's talk about your snare choice, which is it's a bit of a BDC favourite, I think, really amongst lots of drummers, isn't it?
The Bluebird. Yeah. I mean, it's a great snare. I mean, I own a Black Beauty, like a lot of drummers do. Our producer is, a lot of the albums he produced for 70s and 80s, he swears by Black Beauties, and I got a Black Beauty because of him. And it's a great snare. But I hadn't found a metal snare that I liked as much. There's a few reliability issues with those drums, and the quality for the price, I'm going to be honest. And touring it let me down a few times. A few bits of the hardware fell off. It is a great sounding drum, and I still record with it. This was the first snare that I heard that challenged that for me, because that's what I was looking for. Whether they were going out for that, I don't know. But of all the metal snares, maybe it's just a brass thing. I haven't sampled loads of brass ones. This did what I needed it to do. It's got a little bit more attack, a little bit more. Sure. But it's somewhere between a 5-inch and a 6.5 sound, isn't it?
It's a great sound. And straight away, now I know we were talking about this earlier, you've got a bit of dampening on there, but for the music that you're playing, that's what it needs, and it still sounds amazing, doesn't it? Purists, I know, will sort of,
look, this is probably the bit that we should have sorted out. I haven't seen this drum kit for like 3 months.
Yeah.
But I've noticed it's got a really faded Evans little ring that's been taped to it from the last gig we did in the Enorma Dome down in London that must have been kicking around backstage. Because surely it should have a Remo one, because I'm a Remo guy. So that's my OCD over. But well, I mean, we put various, sometimes it's got no dampening, sometimes it's got a moon gel.
Okay, so you'll vary it gig to gig?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
That's just kind of how this is how it got left. But that looks like it's had its day, I think.
Yeah.
So,
but still sounds great out the box. Well, out the touring box.
You know, I'll be obviously about to go into rehearsals, so I'll enjoy I've got a couple of days just to tweak it. Yeah. But it's really nerdy minor tweaks. Nobody else would hear a difference. Because it's so small and subtle.
It's, the drums just sound amazing. There's not a lot you can say. They just sound great. They look great. Finish is brilliant. And it's not, some of the finishes that you can see from other brands are really, really bright and garish. This blends beautifully into any stage set, doesn't it?
Yeah. And again, for me, like, I work with a feature artist. I'm not a feature artist. I'm a backing musician, really. And I don't want anything that's too loud. I don't want to... Our set, you've seen the stage set. We have no dancing folk. We have no big stage props. There is very little on stage. I want something that looks nice, but you can't shout too loud because there's nothing else up there apart from the band.
Yeah.
So, we like to think we're pretty modest and...
Well, it does it, and it does it well.
It's classy, and it's timeless as well. That's why I like this finish.
Yeah, And just run us through the sizes, Pete, because I know that the geeky folk out there will want to know, including me. I can probably work it out from him.
So it's 12, 13, and 16. Yeah, which is kind of what I had a brief spell where I did 10, 12, and 14. But so many grooves that I do, particularly with this gig, would have something riding on a floor tom. Yeah. And I was always finding that 14 was just on the bottom of the tuning range and going flabby and rattly. It was the wrong drum for me. So they are the most standard sizes, but they work for what I do.
It's almost unfashionable these days to play 12, 13, 16, because most people's first drum kit, be it a Pearl Export or a Premier APK, was 12, 13. Usually about this deep, but they were those sizes, weren't they? And now it's a bit like, oh, blimey. Going retro.
I'm being retro, but I've not really deviated. 22 kick, again, I've played 24s. I find them just a little bit sluggish for me. Find them a bit too big and boomy. 20s are great, nice and punchy. That's got the sub, it's got everything I want in it. Yeah. And so it's kind of the size for me. The big thing is it's 14 deep. I know there was a fashion probably about 10, 15 years ago to have these cavernously long bass drums. No one can fit them in the cars. That's the biggest problem. And also, no microphone I've found can pick up all that sub. So if you have a bass drum that's built like 18, 20 deep, it's just a waste of everything. Yeah. And I find them really sluggish because you hit the pedal and about a split second later, the front head vibrates. Sure. I find them really hard to play. Yeah. So very unimaginative, but it works, tried and tested. And I think if you want depths, this is definitely 16 by 16. I'm guessing that's 13 by 9 and 12 by 8.
I reckon you're right, yeah. Looks good to me.
I think that's what they are. Again, pretty standard sizes and just sound great.
But it sounds great. And obviously, head choice is going to affect how they sound. I can see you've got the Emperors, coated Emperors.
Coated Emperors.
My favourite head of choice. Have you always used?
Pretty much, yeah. Although on this last tour, our ever detailed sound engineer was thinking we should try clear ones. Because he'd just done a tour with someone else and gone back to clears after years of coated. Yeah. And he was really liking the attack.
Bit more attack, yeah. I see. I try and get rid of that.
Yeah, I like the warmth, but he'd done this gig and it had really worked. So he might change. But I got sold on these about 15 years ago and I've not changed. Yeah. So I'm a bit occasionally I try different things, but I know I can get what I want out of this and it's great,
And the thing is, if you put clear on there, you're just going to be looking at the inside of these beautiful drums going, oh, it's not. You lose concentration.
I'll be looking at all the detail.
Because that's the one that you can't see in them.
You can't see the beauty. Heads. No, you can't. No. But and I've got a Power Stroke 3 on the bass drum. Yeah. I've used them for ages. Same thing again, like I know them and I like what I know,
Sure.
And then ambassador coated on the snare, standard choice. Yeah, works really well for me.
So again, it's off the shelf. If anybody wants to clone you, it's quite easy, isn't it?
Dead easy, yeah. You don't need to get a patent. It's dead easy.
So let's talk about these lovely cymbals, because they are lovely and they sound magnificent.
So again, I'd had Zildjian for years.
Yeah.
And my Zildjians were getting a bit tired. And I guess I wasn't really shopping around, although I did speak to Zildjian about hooking up, and I couldn't get through because everyone's knocking on Zildjian's door. And then I bought the bits that I needed, and it wasn't until a friend of mine, he was playing Amidias and really sort of sold them and said, the guy who's looking after importing these, he's only up the road in Bolton, so he was really local. And I spoke to him. I don't know, a bit like I'm reluctant to change my heads. I was a bit reluctant to change the cymbals because I was kind of happy. But he dropped some off. We were playing down at Salford Lowry Theatre. I remember him dropping me 2 sets off, and he said, just have a go. If you like them, let's talk. If you don't, I'll have them back. And nice to meet you. And it was our front of house again. He went, they're better for me. They make my job easier. He said, you hit them and they get out of the way. So in this band, we have 5 vocal mics on stage. We've got 3 horn mics on stage. A lot of bleed. Loads of bleed to deal with. It's a nightmare for him. My cymbals are coming down all the microphones, down, particularly, I'm right behind Paul and Jackie. They're the loudest vocal. Cymbals are going right down them. I've got a vocal mic. Cymbals are going down them. So the choice is really, he thought these were better for him than I had A Customs at the time. Yeah. So these are called Amidia Classics. Again, guess what, kids? Off the shelf. Probably the entry-level cymbals that they do. Yeah. But I've tried a few, and I don't know whether they're sort of marketed like an old school Zildjian A again. Like
they kind of look like it, don't they?
They do. It's the same sort of thing, and it sounds like a crash. It's like it's a nice crash with a nice sustain, but it gets out of the way. If you smash it, it sort of does its thing and it goes. Hats are the classic hats, 14-inch again. Probably, I've still got a set of vintage Zildjians that I've had for years, and they're hollow logo, and they're really, they're super thin. Yeah. They're really nice because they're nice and you've got a sort of shuzzy sound rather than that sort of chink chink that you get
I know exactly
with the metal. They just sit in the music without being irritating. Again, I've been trying to find a modern set, a lot of modern cymbals that I've tried. I don't know if it's just because they made them thicker over the years. They just sound a bit too metallic, even though they're metal.
I know what you mean.
They're too metallic.
Not much warmth.
I really like these cymbals. I think they're matched. And this one, all the little logos went off it because I've had it for quite a long time. I can't remember what that one's called. It's still an Amidia.
Yeah.
That's terrible, isn't it? What's this one called? Doesn't say. Might be a Comagene or something. And this is a bit more earthy because it's got a little bit of the unfinished, semi-lathed and semi sort of hand-hammered rough finish.
It goes ping, doesn't it?
It does go ping.
That's what you want a ride cymbal to do.
Yeah, sounds great. It's got a good poppy sound. It washes. You can crash into it if you want to. Yeah. And I've got a little cheeky china at the end here because I thought that'd be quite fun trying to put that into some of Paul's music.
Yeah, that's one thing you wouldn't imagine a china cymbal fitting in, but
it just adds a nice bit of colour now and then. I don't use it very much. That's why it's over here in the sort of in the back room. This is that's why I'm set up like this. Everyone was saying, well, you're trying to look cool. But for years I did that thing. I bought my first kit was my first decent kit was a 6-piece kit. Right. Which I got really chuffed with and started setting up all the toms. So I had 4 toms. By about a month in, I was on to 3 toms. by the time I started gigging, I was back on 2. Because I was like, I can't be bothered humping these around. I've always been one up and one down. Yeah. And it was about, it's probably 4 or 5 albums ago with Paul. But a lot of the stuff he was referencing had a lot of sort of Latin-y kind of feeling toms. And when I was listening, the stuff that he was sort of asking me to recreate or were like his inspirations for certain songs, I just thought I need a bit more tone, I need a bit more option. And I tried setting 2 like I had at the school kit when I played. Yeah. And I was just so used to having a ride there. Same. And not like Vinny Cole Ute was always up there. Can't do that. I've got so comfortable with having a ride there. Yeah. That was the obvious. And this is like, I think for the audience, that's the front of the drum kit. Yeah. But for me, this is the front of the drum kit because of where your legs are and it's that.
I sat at the kit before, and it feels very ergonomic to play. Like, you don't have to move far to get to anything. There's nothing, it just looks comfortable.
It does. I always wanted 2 floor toms because I thought it was look cool. Dave Grohl has 2 toms, doesn't he? I know that Buddy Rich had one to put stuff on, which is used. Because I've tried,
Ashtray.
I can't get round there comfortable. I always find, I could have it as just a table, but I've always thought 2 floor toms looks cool, but whenever I've tried to play with it, I just find it totally useless. So I don't.
So, obviously, I'm looking around the kit. We've got a little LP tambourine there.
Yeah.
And now this thing, this fascinates me, and I think it's worth talking about.
Yeah, my little rhythm watch.
Yeah.
It's a Tama rhythm watch. I have a spare in the box here
Yeah.
for the kids at home. There you go. Look at this.
Here's one I made earlier.
Here's one I made here. I mean, this is great. The gig that I play is sort of old-fashioned now, where we don't have a click track, we don't have any triggers, we don't have any Ableton, we don't have any Logic, we don't have Pro Tools, we don't have any Apple Macs. This is what we have.
Wedge monitors.
We've got wedge monitors. These don't tour with us, but they're essentially the same.
Yeah.
We've got 2 combo guitar amps, 2 combo bass amps, 2 keyboards, 3 brass instruments. Paul might have a harmonica in his hand.
Sure.
And the rest of us have got mic. Jackie's got a mic, Paul's got a mic, I've got a mic, and the guitarist and bass player do too. So it's now quite old-fashioned. So just to keep an eye on tempos, I program one of these up. Yeah. Just because you get a bit excited.
Just put a reference point.
It's a bit of a reference, but then it also gives Paul the freedom. If he's feeling it's a bit slow, he can pull it up. If he's feeling it's a bit too fast, he can knock it down. Yeah. And nobody's worrying about the brass or the strings coming in on the chorus. Sure. It's not getting played because we just do it. Also means we can go around. If he's not feeling ready to come in for a chorus or at the top of a song, we can just go around a few times. The thing with it is you can program it up to 31 songs. Okay. So as a set list, I literally just hit a button, it gives me the next tempo, hit it again, gives me the next tempo. It's not that one though, it's that one. And then it just means it's just there blipping away in the background if I want to read, if I want to have a look. So is it certain songs or is it... I put a whole set on it.
And would you sort of reference each song before counting it off?
Yeah, do. Yeah. And then the ones that I don't start, I have a bit of a nudge and then it lets me know what we're going faster and slower on and adjust. We're always adjusting that as well, really.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
It's another movable feast, but if something felt too fast, we'll knock it down. If something felt too slow, we'll knock it up.
Amazing.
Just gives me a bit of a reference.
Of course.
I don't have it in my ears because I don't have any ears. I've got these ears, but no in-ear monitors. So it's just a visual aid.
Yeah. That's a good thing to have. And I see you're using the old classic DW9000 there.
Oh yeah, DW9000 bass drum pedal.
Yeah.
But I do have an old Pearl one that I've lost that I've had for ages that I love as well.
Yeah, great pedals.
I've got my old Pearl snare drum stand, which was the first expensive thing that I bought when I was 17 from Johnny Roadhouse Music in Manchester. So I've had that. Well, how long was that? 1997 I bought that.
Wow.
So I thought I need something on my kit that I've had that I'll always have, and that's it. Because it's dead,
nice, that, though,
it's
isn't
dead
it?
reliable.
Yeah.
Because I've changed everything else. Because everything else I had was a bit cheap and rubbish. And then I've got Gibraltar stands.
Yeah.
But eagerly awaiting some BDC stands.
Of course. I think lots of people are eagerly awaiting that. So
we are.
Hopefully soon.
Hopefully soon I'll be upgrading these. But they're fine,
Sure.
They're heavy.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
They don't go on my bar gigs, my little bar gigs and small rehearsals.
No.
They stay in the van.
So obviously we've talked about the gear and you've talked about the room. Let's talk about why your kit is set up, and there's lots of road trunks and flight cases scattered around.
Sure. So you've come to us now. We were hoping that we could have done a little rig rundown at the AO Arena in Manchester, but due to the World Cup getting in the way, due to Jackie taking poorly, it was just proving I didn't know what the day would hold.
No,
really. None of us did. So you've come to my wonderful second home on our the loading day rehearsals. So I'm going to be starting on Monday with rehearsals. So you're catching us on the Irish leg of our tour to support the last album.
Cool. So how many dates have you got over in Ireland then?
I think we've got 7.
Amazing.
I need to check the iCal.
Yeah. Obviously, by the time this goes out, it may have already been.
It will have been. It was great. I hope it was. No, can't tempt fate. Maybe it was awful. That thing happened.
Either way, it must be a pleasure going over there.
We love Ireland, and Ireland loves us.
Yeah.
We're really lucky. Paul has made a point in his career from the House Martins onwards of visiting Ireland and not just playing in Dublin and going. He's always toured Ireland. He's always played Northern Ireland, which in the 80s was not as common for a UK band to do that.
Yeah.
And I think people don't forget, and people appreciate the effort that he's made. So we've got a really strong following in Ireland, and we feel very welcome there.
Sure.
You know, wherever we are.
And I think with Ireland and Northern Ireland both, they've got a rich heritage of great singer-songwriters. So, you know, you probably fit right at home there, I'd imagine.
Yeah, the world playing, certainly the way Paul writes seems to, he covers a lot of bases, but certainly the music, it seems that the music resonates just as well in Ireland as it does in the rest of the UK. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, look, I think that about does it. I think we've covered everything. So hope you've enjoyed this episode of Rig Rundown. Pete, thanks very much, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thanks,
no worries.
Thanks for having us here in this beautiful Blueprint studio.
In my other home. I don't really live here.
Yeah.
I live under the stage.
So really appreciate it. So once again, folks, don't forget to check out all of our social media. You'll find all the links in the description below. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we shall see you soon. Thank you.